Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, David M. coming at you here with a very special, probably my favorite ever video response from my good buddy, Clint, Swing Away Sports Cards. You might soon see him as Skate Away Sports Cards, or Puck Away Sports Cards, or Speed Away Sports Cards, whatever he's going to be, depending on how long it takes the clown show at MLB to reach an agreement with the players. But anyway, this is my favorite because this is all about fantasy baseball, which is my favorite thing on this planet to nerd out on. I tried to film this video already once. It was over 30 minutes long, so I'm going to try to get through it much quicker this time. If you don't care anything about fantasy baseball, thanks for watching. Feel free to click off. If you're Erik at Classic Cards, just fast forward to the end where I highlight the players not to draft, and you'll just save yourself a lot of time. I'm going to try to go through this quickly. Clint, one of the things he wanted us to show, or to mention with the cards, is to shout out 3 channels under 200 subs. I'm happy to do that. The first one I'm going to shout out is my good buddy Greg, Tiger727. He is in a fantasy league with myself and Clint. It's been going on for a couple years now. Great dude, great channel. Please be sure to check him out. Another one I will shout out is Card Wolf. Again, another really great guy with a very entertaining channel. And then let's see if I can say this right. Fabian Zafrinci, Fabian there at Undrafted Player. 3 incredible channels, all show very different things, but all just wonderful people. So please go and check them out, along with Clint, my good buddy, Swing Away Sports. So again, this is all about your fantasy lineup. Show your best fantasy lineup of active players. Now, ironically, I'm showing Willie Mays, a Hall of Famer, in honor of Clint, who's a huge Giants fan. So this is the 1967 Topps pinup of Willie Mays, just to shout out Clint, because this is fantasy, and I don't think I'll have any Giants in this. Again, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to try to be as realistic as possible. So this is strictly business, so there'll be a few Cubs, but this is all about the numbers. So one thing he wanted to show to start off is who we think the overall #1 player would be. So I'm going to show 2 because that is very dependent on the league that you play in. So in a league where it is a daily league, meaning you can make lineup changes daily, and I stress this, and Shohei Ohtani counts as 1 player, then this is the very obvious #1 choice. It's the cheat code, because you get 2 amazing players in 1. So Shohei Ohtani is the far and away overall #1 draft pick, very specifically in a league where it is daily lineup changes, and he is 1 player. Because in most leagues, you have to draft him twice. And then in a lot of leagues, it's weekly lineup changes. Neither of those do you any good. Not to say he's not great in those formats, but he's not my overall #1. My overall #1 in any other kind of league, and it's really not even super close, is Mr. Fernando Tatis. Fernando Tatis puts up numbers that are insane. And hey, this is fantasy, so errors aren't really going to count against you in most leagues, right? So, but I think he does. Okay, yes, he gets a bad rap for his defense, and it's earned. He has a negative WAR. But there are plenty of other guys who don't seem to take the same bad rap that have worse defensive statistics than Fernando Tatis. So, just throwing that out there, including last year's NL MVP, by the way. I think if Tatis moved to the outfield permanently, we wouldn't talk about it nearly as much. But anyway, he is going to be among the league leaders in homers, RBI, runs scored, stolen bases. He produces good batting average. I mean, he is the epitome of a true 5-tool player, and just an unbelievable fantasy darling. It really doesn't get much better than that for fantasy purposes. And he's just fun as hell to watch. So that is my number one. And he is dual eligible at both shortstop and outfield this coming year. So that helps too. So now we're just going to kick off here. I'm going to go to first base. Oh, and I should say this. So what I'm going to do for mine, try to keep it realistic. I'm going to show you the big dog, the top one or two guys at every position. And then I'm going to show you a couple of maybe later round draft picks at each position and a couple of, sneaky picks late. Because the reality is, in a true fantasy league, you're not going to have all the big boys. You might have two at most of all these offensive players I'm about to show you that are the big boys. And then you're going to have to go later into your draft. So let's move on to first base. Last year's number one overall player, and what's really impressive about this, that's the no number, is in a roto. He was the overall number one player, and he doesn't steal any bases. So roto takes into account stolen bases big time. This is the Tatis X set from a couple years ago. But anyway, that's how impressive his season was last year. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So he's the clear choice at first base. Now, if you want to go a little bit later into the draft, first base is deep, I'm telling you. You want to go a little bit later, your other big name, Big Meat Pete, is also another great name to get there. And then you can go even later than that and get around Mountcastle. And the thing about Mountcastle you got to be careful is the Orioles are moving the wall back 30 feet, plus increasing the height by like 5 feet. So that could affect him a bit. And then if you want to go much later, little Andrew Vaughn action. Let's see how he goes. So there's that, but there's tons of other first basemen late. Joey Votto, Luke Voigt. There's a bunch of guys you can get late at first base. Kind of a deep position there, especially for power. All right, let's move on to second base, and I probably got to go a lot quicker than this. So first by a country mile, Trey Turner. It's a Bowman Inception patch rookie card there. He is dual eligible, second and short, but if you draft him, shortstop is so deep, I'd play him at second. Trey Turner, before Vladdy's big year last year, Trey Turner was the number one guy in roto for a couple years in a row. If you can't get him, probably the next biggest guy is Ozzie Albies. Then if you want to go a little bit deeper, sneaky good, Brandon Lau will provide a ton of home run pop, albeit at a pretty rough batting average, but still for a second baseman, he pops. Jazz Chisholm, I'm not a big fan of his necessarily as far as roto goes, or any fantasy league goes. And technically he's dual eligible too at shortstop and second. If I end up stuck with him, he's going to play second, but decent pop and good stolen base potential. One of my favorites to target late, just great batting average, great everything, Ketel Marte. I love this gold, Ketel Marte. And then, of course, my man, ex-lookout, Jonathan India, last year's Rookie of the Year. He'll provide you some stolen bases for roto. He's got very, very good plate discipline for points leagues, walks a lot, doesn't strike out much. Just a really solid player. He's not going to be a dynamo at everything, but if you got to go late in the draft or later in the draft, Jonathan India is a great one to get at second, a position that thins out pretty quick. And then very, very late, very sneaky pick, I think, this year, Luis Urias. He is multi-position eligible, I think first, second, and third, if I'm not mistaken, or second, third, and shortstop, something like that. But a good solid pick there for late in your draft if you really have to wait around. All right, now we're going to go to shortstop, which I've already shown you Tatis. But shortstop is so deep. It's probably the deepest position other than outfield. So if you draft Tatis, you can play him at short or outfield. So I'm going to show you the next crop here at shortstop. So far and away, your next best, if you don't get Tatis or Trey Turner, is Buchet. Again, provides, look at that refracted there, provides a good power, great speed, great batting average. I mean, just all around, again, 5 tools. And that's what you want. A lot of runs and a very powerful lineup, a lot of ribs. One thing I will say for both him and Vladdy, really all the Toronto guys, last year, about for the first half of the year, all their home games were played at Dunedin and Buffalo. So park factors could be a thing for real for the Blue Jays guys, some of them, but I love Buchet. I was an idiot and didn't, in my keeper league, didn't keep him when I should have. But now the next guy, going a little bit later, this is all the hype right now. The whole big hype train. No, I don't have the 2022 yet, but Wander Franco. Here's what I'll say about Wander. He could be a generational talent and amazing player. But again, this is Roto, strictly business. I don't want him in Roto. Points league, I'll take him all day long. Roto, a little bit different. He's probably not going to run a ton. Doesn't seem to, at least this year, is not projected for a lot of pop. Again, very high batting average, very great on base percentage, won't strike out. So for points league, sure. But for Roto, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather have Dansby, because at least he'll pop some homers and do some other things. The counting stats, I'd also rather have Jorge Polanco and Roto. Very sneaky, kind of middle round player there. Started off last year brutally cold, but then was amazing. Corey Seager, one of my favorites. We'll see what he does now with Texas, but would love to have him kind of middle rounds. Late round guys, this one's the sneaky one, the solid pick in the gold, Willy Adames. Thing about Willy Adames, he was terrible at home with Tampa Bay. Was awesome when he played for Tampa Bay on the road. And he always said he couldn't see the ball well in Tampa. So sure enough, he got traded to Milwaukee last year and was awesome. And then, of course, if you want to go very late, we'll see what my boy Nico, there's the short print rookie. All these Nicos, we'll see what Nico can do. I got to show my Cub fandom here. Man, I hope he breaks through. We need to get a season going first, but man, I hope Nico can ball out. So now we're going to move to third base, which is, by consensus, the weakest position, probably other than catcher. I just realized I don't have this guy's rookie card, and that's something I'm going to have to remedy awfully quick. But far and away, your number one third baseman every year is J-Ram, Jose Ramirez, top 5 draft pick consensus. I mean, he's a true 5 tool. He's not the best batting average, but still amazing. After him, you got Rafael Devers as a great solid pick. And then after him, you want to go for the pop if he can repeat last year. Austin Riley is a great pick. Then you want to go more middle rounds. I know a lot of people won't like this one, but dude can play. Dude can put up numbers anyway, especially for fantasy. Alex Bregman. We'll see how he does this coming year. And then go even later than that if you want to get some stolen bases to go along with everything. There's the short print. Brian Hayes, we'll see how he bounces back this year. He had that wrist injury, hell, the first week of the season last year, and that really hampered him. But I think Brian Hayes still, I'm not giving up on him yet. Key Brian Hayes for a late round third baseman, and then even later than that, the bringer of rain, Mr. Josh Donaldson, in his drafted Chicago Cubs uniform. He's going extremely late in drafts, and he provides a lot of pop. And then if you want to go even later than that, my man Patrick Wisdom is third base eligible along with a couple other positions, and he could provide a lot of pop. So love me some Patrick Wisdom late. But again, that's a rough position. Position scarcity is a thing in fantasy. And so those are some guys there. Now, we move to the deepest position. We're going to move, well, I'll take that back. We're going to go to catcher first. And I don't have this guy's rookie card either, so I'm going to have to fix that. Far and away, your best catcher, Salvador Perez. Not even close. The next guy up, see, here's where it gets interesting. Perez, did that with the record last year for most home runs by a player who primarily played catcher. But the thing to keep in mind about that is he played in the AL where there's DH, so he had a ton more at-bats than the NL guys. So with the NL adopting the DH this year, there could be a lot of sneaky NL guys. So Will Smith is one of the higher rated catchers, but again, with the DH, he could be a beast. My guy, Wilson Contreras. Again, with that DH, I just love this card. God, that's a beautiful card. But with the DH, again, he basically, when they played interleague games last year, he DH'd a lot and was great. So he's going to be what I'm targeting. Later rounds, target is Dalton Varsho. Provides rare speed at the catcher position because he actually plays just as much or more outfield as he does catcher. But a great pickup there. And then finally, kind of my real sneaky, who I want to sneak in at the end of drafts, Keibert Ruiz, especially in points leagues, but in all leagues really, just great batting average, extremely good plate discipline to go along with a little bit of pop. But again, a late pick there. Catcher, I've been known to punt catcher in leagues before that I've won. Just because when you get out of the top few guys, God, that position can hurt you more than help you. Now we're going to move on to outfield. So with outfield, I'm going to assume a 3 outfielder league. You know, some leagues are 5. So I'm going to show a bunch of guys here as quickly as I can. Your first guys, I'm going to call this the top 3. So your first round outfielders, probably your number 1 pick in points leagues, and possibly even in Roto, Juan Soto. Just the play discipline is unreal. He's got pop. He's got, I mean, you name it. Even in a bad lineup, he's going to get extremely good counting stats. So Juan Soto, for real. Your next guy up. Now, here's the interesting thing. So Ronald Acuna Jr. So Acuna's coming off the torn ACL and the surgery. Obviously, we want MLB to start as soon as possible, but the longer the lockout goes, the more Acuna's fantasy value goes up because he, by his own admission, isn't even going to be ready until May, which is hurting his fantasy value in early drafts because you're going to miss a month or so with him. But if the season's delayed a month, it would not surprise me at all to see Acuna go from a barely first-round pick, as he sits right now, to a top 5 pick. And by next year, he could be the overall number 1. And finally, can't deny what he did last year. Love him or hate him, Bryce Harper. I happen to like Bryce Harper. Just a fantastic outfielder. Not defensively. His WAR is worse than Tatis's. All right, so we move on to the next tier. So the next tier, so a lot of people may be surprised that he wasn't in the first tier, but you know, he's been hurt for a while, and he's had some injury issues, but Mike Trout, I mean, he could, and I hope this happens. I hope he comes back this year and shows everybody why he is the man, why he is daddy. It's his second year mini, by the way. Mike Trout, and then my man, because I like the tall guys, Aaron Judge. Love that chrome card. Man, it's a beauty. There's the base. Just again, tons of pop, good play discipline. This is my favorite Aaron Judge card, the short print rookie. Lou Rock just showed this on his, by the way. I just watched his today. Man, I love that card. So, we move on to the third guy from that. Lou Bob had a breakthrough last year. If he can stay healthy, tons of speed, you know, tons of pop, he could be the next big thing. So if we move on to the next tier after that, someone I'm all over and would love to have all the Yordan that you can give me in fantasy leagues. Just such an amazing hitter. So this next guy, you might not believe it unless you really do fantasy baseball, Cedric Mullins. Did you know that Cedric Mullins was the only player in baseball last year to go 30-30? That's 30 homers and 30 steals. Cedric Mullins did that. And then a big-time prospect and now a potential big-time bounce-back candidate, Eloy. Let's see what he does. I'm thinking he'll bust through this year. I think this is the year that he does it. An incredible lineup. So a little more middle-range guys now, middle to late range, just the mainstay. I cannot hype this guy up. Brian Reynolds is just a fantasy. He's just such a great hitter. I mean, I think he led MLB in doubles last year, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that because I could be wrong, but I think he did. Brian Reynolds is just a great hitter, just a fantastic player. I'm a big fan of his. Great fantasy asset, too. Now, of course, my man, it's fandom time, Schwarbs. We'll see where he ends up this year. But I think wherever he ends up, he is going to be a beast. There's big rumor that he's going to end up in Colorado. If he ends up in Colorado, he's going to be your major league leader in home runs. I'll call that right now. and you better believe I'll have every share of him I can get on my fantasy teams. But one of my all-time favorite players, Schwartz. And then another big-time bounce-back guy, Belly. Will he do it this year? Apparently he's changed his weed smoking regimen. I just hope he changes his swing back to where it was. And let's see how he does. So some late rounders real quick. Much later rounders. I really think Alex Kirilloff is going to break through this year. I think he's going to be a beast. Had some injury issues last year, but I think this is it. Jerry Kelenic was the big hype prospect, came up and sucked a pocket full of ass, got sent back down. We'll see how he bounces back this year. One more Kelenic there. And then if you need some speed, if you miss out on it early, Adolis Garcia for the Rangers had a decent little year. Miles Straw, he's not going to hit any home runs, 2 or 3 maybe, but he's going to lead off probably for the Guardians, or at least be in the top 1 or 2. He's going to get a ton of stolen bases. Hey, this is a beautiful rookie card. He's going to provide solid batting average too. I think he's sneaky good. I do think this is the year that this guy breaks out. I'm rooting for it anyway. Joe Adele. Shout out to Erik. And you never know. Will Austin Meadows ever have that big-time breakout like we've expected forever? We will see. So that's some outfielders. Let's go do some pitchers real quick. So you're obvious. There's Jacob deGrom is just the best pitcher on the planet when healthy. And I should have said this from the beginning. I'm assuming health for all of these guys. I'm not taking risk factors into any of this. Max Scherzer does nothing but continue to dominate. We'll see what he does with the Mets. Just insanely awesome pitcher. A couple of Brewers coming up. Corbin Burns. What a year he had. Just one of the aces. And then his teammate, Brandon Woodruff. Again, incredible year he had. A couple of Astros guys. I'm big on the Astros pitchers, including Verlander. Got him in my keeper league, but Framber Valdez, I like him an awful lot. When healthy, and if he'll be healthy this year, I really like Lance McCullers. He's done a lot for me in fantasy. And then I'm really big on this guy right here. He had a fantastic first long stretch, the first 3 quarters of the year this year. Trevor Richards for the Marlins. He had some family issues. I think he had some close family die or something on him. And basically, and the Marlins were limiting his innings last year anyway. But I really look for him to do big things. It sucks that Jeet's left. Again, the owners don't want to spend money. Whatever, man. These owners have to get it together. The owners, along with Man-Tits, need to figure this thing out. So there's some great starting pitchers. Here's a few more. I really think Tarek Skubal. Again, the shout out to Greg, Tiger727. Strikeout machine. He does give up a lot of hard contact, but hopefully he'll get that figured out. He's in a great ballpark for sure for pitchers. I think Clayton Kershaw, if he can finally be healthy. Obviously, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but let's see. He's going sneaky late in drafts, so he might be a good one to pick up late in your fantasy draft. Where are we at now? Here we go. My probably biggest sneaker, late round sleeper that I want to try to get in most drafts, Luis Severino. He's actually right now only relief pitcher eligible. I'm sure that will change. If he comes back healthy, watch out. The late round steal of the draft. I also think fandom time. Adbert Alzolay, I got to see him pitch live last year. If he just keeps putting things together, I think could be sneaky good, especially as late as he's going. So let's move on to relievers real fast. Obviously, your big boy, Josh Hader. Gets no better than him. Liam Hendricks is also great. Again, shout out to Erik. I couldn't be bothered to top load Arisel Iglesias, but he's great. Of course, Aroldis Chapman is on the decline for sure, but still one of the elites. You still have a couple of other ones here kind of bouncing back. If I can get them scooped up here off the table. Bear with me 1 second. Here we go. Kimberly right there in the pink refractor. And then we'll see if he gets traded from the Sox. And then Corey Knebel, who is an ace reliever. In fact, Hader used to set up holds for him. back in the day. So Knebel now with the Phillies should be the main reliever. We'll see what he does there. So that is my fantasy lineup. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the guys to avoid. We're going to stay with pitchers. These are a couple of pitching prospects. They're a little long in the tooth. Warren G with the Cubs. Not sure where his development is at. I think I would, for me right now, that's a hard pass, even in a dynasty league. This guy, again, another Cubs pitching prospect for my boys. No way. He doesn't seem to be in pitching shape. I know there was the COVID season. I know we're locked out. I know he's not on the 40-man, so he should still be training, and this is what he looks like. So I'm not going to give John Lovitz a roster spot, but he could be sneaky off the waiver wire, but I doubt it. Now, my last couple hitters. Tim Tebow. I think his days are over. He obviously isn't in the league anymore. He gave it the old college try. Didn't happen. Now, and this is a big shout out to Erik at Classic Cards. If you find yourself, the next guy I'm going to show is not going to get drafted. There's no chance. There's not a snowball's chance in hell of this guy getting drafted. Because I had to dig way into the comments to find this. If you're mid-season and your whole team gets COVID protocoled, or there's some other super syphilis kind of disease that comes around and you just have to pick up people off the waiver wires, remember, negative points can really hurt you. And this guy, right here, I can't even, that's so small, I can't tell the name. Dustin Felcher. No, there is David Fletcher. David Fletcher, I absolutely would not draft if someone told me I could have an extra roster spot. Definitely would not take him. Again, pulled that out of the commons. Here's one that Erik sent me. I don't know why. I think the other one he did too. I just don't throw him away because Erik sent him, and he's a heck of a nice guy, one of my favorite people. But, you know, it's so bad that the fine people at Fairfield, whose mission it is to collect all the junk wax they can possibly find from every flea market and garage sale across this great nation of ours, and then sell them for a trillion% profit because they're all worthless. Even they won't include Darren Fletcher in their boxes. So, having said all that, this is my second attempt at this video, and I have shaved exactly 2 minutes off of the first one. So, Clint, thank you for this opportunity. If anybody actually watches this all the way through, God help you. I suggest you find something better to do with your time and your life. You'll be in my prayers, my T's and P's. Everyone, take care. I will catch you next time.